Let's revive and swatch this vintage Cutex nail polish in the shade Light Rust from 1936. Now lately I've really been emphasizing safety in working with these older polishes since I've been verified and feel the heavy weight of creating responsibly with my ever-growing audience. Also, as I'm working with these often mysterious formulas full-time, I've been moving towards increased safety measures for myself. So let me introduce to you a new character on my page, the Fume extractor. This machine basically sucks up the fumes above my workstation and filters them, so my lungs don't have to. I'd love suggestions on what we could name it, maybe tapping into fictional chain smokers for inspiration. With the Fume extractor powered on, let's crack this bottle open and get to work. As usual, I'm pulling out my sesh restorer and I'm going to give it a few droppers full of the thinner to start. I'm already noticing such a reduction of vapors reaching my nose. Most vintage polish, even the stuff from the 90s, contains toluene and formaldehyde, so I'm going to be using this essentially every time I open a bottle. Now if you're casually using a more modern vintage polish, don't feel the need to buy a fume extraction system. You'll be okay in a well-ventilated area or say a large room. I, on the other hand, have more frequent exposure to fumes, so this was an important upgrade for me. Now I'm going to do some stirring. Since the polish isn't completely dried out, I don't have to wait for it to soak up the thinner. I do find this stir stick to be comically short, so at one point I head to the kitchen to find a skewer stick. I do know they make longer metal sticks, but I always forget to buy them until I of course need to use one, and then I continue to kick that can down the road. This wooden stick is a lot more comfortable to use, though it has more surface area, so I have to be careful to not let it take much polish with it once I'm done using it. Now it's time for more thinner. Since we're pulling out the Vortex mixer, the cap is going back on, so I clean up the polish I got on the threads from mixing it by hand before doing so. And before I use the Vortex on such an old polish, I always make sure that the brush and cap will be able to withstand the machine's vibrations. Some bottle components are more fragile than others, so I make a judgment call every time I pull out the Vortex, even for some modern polishes. Here I'm just checking the consistency, and I noticed it could use some more thinner. A lot of modern polish is this thicker consistency, but with the older stuff the formulas are meant to be a little more viscous. Since this is a camel hair brush, it's coarser than synthetic brushes, so with a thicker formula the bristles would leave tracks, so we need it to be thinner for better application. I still see a lot of pigment sticking to the glass, so I'll have to pull out the metal stick again and try to scrape the sides a bit. I have to make sure every element is properly mixed so that the color is accurate once we get to swatching it. But once poked and prodded sufficiently, the Vortex will do the rest. I'm really excited to swatch this though. Orange tones don't typically look good on me, but I think this is peachy enough to complement my skin tone, but we'll see. And now we can swatch it. A couple videos back I did a different nail painting POV and you guys did not like that. But don't worry, I didn't like it either, so I'm back to my signature POV, where I flip you all off. JK, that sentiment is only for the nail shape police. Nah, but I try not to get pressed by things people say on the internet. I challenge anyone to bully me more effectively than my third grade peers that got me so bad that I had to be held back a year to escape their torment. In my life, I've learned that people will target you primarily when they're insecure, attention-seeking, or lacking fulfillment. With a fully developed frontal lobe, I'd rather take on the groundhog that keeps pulling up my onions. No, but really, what do I do about this groundhog? But putting our focus back on the polish, it applied beautifully with no issues. Let's check it out on 4 fingers under brighter lighting. I think this peachy tone worked out well. It's not so bright that it pulls the pink out of my skin, so that's nice. But let me know your thoughts on this revival, and if you want to see more like it, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos.